Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be talking about Rodney Alcala.
The dating game killer.
The dating game killer, right? And we've got two sources here today.
Yeah.
One is his Wikipedia article. The other one is a transcript of a 48 Hours episode.
Okay.
And so why is this case so crazy? Well, there's a lot of crazy things about this case.
Right.
One of the craziest is that he appeared on the dating game in 1978.
Yeah, in the midst
of his killing spree.
Yeah, and he won.
And he won the date.
Which is just...
It's wild.
It's a wild thing. Like,
it's truly wild.
How can somebody be so normal on the outside, but so evil on the inside?
Yeah.
Like, how do you
even process that? Right?
Yeah, and then the other big thing about his case that's so interesting is that he had this collection of over 1,000 photos of women and children.
Yeah.
And some of them are very suggestive, which is what makes police think that there could be many, many more victims out there.
Yeah. So really scary stuff. So let's jump right into it. So Rodney Alcala was born Rodrigo Jacques Alcala in 1943.
Okay.
And his family moved to L.A. when he was 11.
Okay.
And he seemed like kind of a normal kid. He's intelligent. He's popular. He was in yearbook and track. It sounds pretty normal.
There were signs early on of trouble. When he was 17, he joined the Army.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he had like a nervous breakdown and ended up being discharged.
Okay.
And at that time, he was diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder.
Wow, that's a pretty serious diagnosis.
It is.
I'm kind of curious, though, like, how do you, if you have that kind of diagnosis, how do you function well enough to do all these other things? Because he even went on to attend, like, UCLA and NYU film school.
Yeah, he studied under Roman Polanski.
Yeah, like, that's pretty impressive.
It is, and I think that's the thing that is so puzzling to a lot of experts about this guy, is, like, he was clearly very intelligent, very charming, and he was able to just sort of, like, blend in with society seamlessly.
Yeah.
So I think that ability to present himself as normal is part of what helped him evade detection for so long.
Yeah, it's like a chameleon just changing its colors to fit into the environment.
Exactly, yeah.
So when he was in his 20s, though, this is really when his predatory nature kind of took hold.
Right.
So in 1968, he lured an 8-year-old girl named Holly Shapiro into his apartment and brutally assaulted her.
Yes.
Thankfully, a witness called the police, and they found her alive, but Alcala was able to get away.
Yeah, and this is really like, when you see the danger of this guy, it wasn't like a one-off thing.
Right.
Like, he clearly planned this attack.
Yeah.
He targeted a vulnerable victim.
It was premeditated.
Yes.
So to avoid arrest for this crime, he fled to New York and took on the alias John Berger.
Right, and it's in New York in 1971.
Okay.
Where we see a terrifying escalation in his violence.
Okay.
Cornelia Crilly, 23-year-old flight attendant, was found murdered.
Oh, my God.
In her Manhattan apartment, and she had been strangled with her own stockings.
Oh, wow. So did they suspect Alcala at that time?
No, unfortunately not.
Okay.
It would be 40 years before that case was linked to Alcala through DNA evidence. Which just goes to show, again, how he was able to just stay under the radar.
Fly under the radar.
For so long.
Yeah, so this guy's on the run. He's using a fake name.
Yeah.
And he's still committing these violent acts. So what happened next?
Well, he was caught in 1974 in New Hampshire.
Okay.
And he was caught because former campers of his recognized him from the FBI's most wanted list.
Wow, good for them.
Yeah.
Wow, so they played a really big role in getting this guy off the streets.
Absolutely. Yeah. And he was extradited back to California to face charges for the assault of Holly Shapiro.
Okay.
But they offered him a plea deal.
Really?
And he ended up serving only 34 months for that crime.
What, 34 months?
I know.
That's it.
It's crazy.
That doesn't seem like enough time.
Not nearly enough.
Especially for what he did to this little girl.
And it really shows how the justice system really failed to grasp the true danger that this guy posed.
Yeah, and to make matters worse.
Right.
After he got out, she got a job as a typesetter at the LA Times.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I know. So he's just back in society like nothing happened.
It's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable.
I mean, he was holding down this respectable job.
Yeah, at a well-known newspaper.
Yeah.
But this facade of normalcy wouldn't last.
Right.
He was soon rearrested.
Oh, no.
For assaulting a 13-year-old girl.
Oh, my gosh. This is just infuriating.
I know. It's like,
why?
How many times
does this have to happen?
Yeah.
So how long was his sentence this time?
He only served 2 years.
2 years?
2 years. And he was released in 1977.
Oh, my gosh.
And this is where it gets even crazier.
Okay.
His parole officer allowed him to travel to New York.
Wait, what are you kidding? So this guy's got a history of violence. He's on parole, and they're just like, yeah, go ahead, go to New York.
Yep.
Like, what could go wrong?
That's a recipe for disaster.
That's a recipe for disaster, for sure. Right. So what happened?
Well, in 1977, Ellen Jane Hover, the daughter of a prominent nightclub owner in New York, disappeared from her apartment.
Oh, my gosh.
And in her appointment book, it showed that she had a meeting with John Berger on the day she vanished.
Oh, my gosh. So Alcala.
Yeah.
So it seems like he was really targeting women from all walks of life. Like, it wasn't like one particular type.
Right.
It was a young girl. It was a flight attendant. And now it's the daughter of a prominent person.
Exactly.
And her body was found a year later.
It was.
This pattern is just heartbreaking.
It really is.
It's like release, reoffend, release, reoffend.
Yeah, and it's like
when is it going to stop?
And it's terrifying how easily he moved through society.
Yeah.
You know?
Like a ghost,
yeah.
Almost.
Like nobody even knew he was there until it's too late.
Exactly.
It's chilling. And this is where things get really bad, like 1977 to 1979.
Okay.
He goes on like a full-blown killing spree in California.
Okay.
Murders at least 5 women.
Okay.
Jill Barkham, Georgia, Wixted Charlotte, Lamb Som, Jill Parento.
Okay.
And 12-year-old Robin Samso.
Wow, so it really escalated quickly.
It did.
What do we know about the murders? Like, is there a pattern?
Yeah, I mean, they were all unique in their own way, but there were some commonalities.
Okay.
He often strangled his victims, posed their bodies, and in some cases, there's evidence that he tortured them before they died.
Oh my gosh.
It seems like he really got off on inflicting pain and terror.
That's really hard to comprehend, that level of cruelty.
It is.
But I think it's important that we remember these women as individuals.
Absolutely.
Can you tell me a little bit about each of them?
Yeah, so Jill Barkham was just 18 years old. She had just moved to L.A. from New York to pursue her acting dreams.
Okay.
And she was actually initially thought to be a victim of the Hillside Strangler.
Oh, wow. So there was like a lot of fear around.
There was so much fear.
All these murders going on.
Oh, yeah. Los Angeles.
At that time.
Was a scary place to be.
Yeah, because for people who might not remember, the Hillside Strangler was actually 2 guys.
Right. Kenneth Bianchi and Angela Buono.
Yeah, so it's crazy that they had multiple
serial killers operating at the same time.
Yeah.
And then Georgia Wixted was a 27-year-old nurse. She was found brutally beaten and sexually assaulted.
Oh my gosh.
In her Malibu apartment.
Wow.
Charlotte Lamb was a 31-year-old legal secretary.
Okay.
She was discovered in the laundry room of her apartment complex in El Segundo.
Okay.
Strangled with a shoelace. And Jill Parento was a 21-year-old computer programmer.
Okay.
And she was found murdered in her Burbank apartment.
It's just heartbreaking to think about all these lives being cut short.
It is.
And then, of course, Robin Samso, who was only 12.
12 years old.
When she was abducted while riding her bike to ballet class. And her murder, as we'll talk about, was really what led to Alcala's capture.
Exactly.
So you mentioned before that Alcala appeared on the dating game.
Yes.
During his killing spree.
I know, isn't that crazy?
It's just like, how is it even possible?
And he won.
Like, how did he have the time to do all these things, killing all these women, and then also go on the dating game?
Like, what was going on in his mind?
Yeah.
But he came across as charming, witty, successful.
Yeah.
He won the date.
Yeah.
But the woman who chose him backed out.
Oh, really?
After meeting him in person.
Okay.
She said he was creepy.
Oh, gosh.
She said he had this intense gaze that made her uncomfortable.
It's kind of like...
She had a feeling something wasn't right.
They're like a sixth sense.
And she might have narrowly escaped becoming one of his victims.
It's a reminder that evil can wear a mask of normalcy.
Exactly.
So how is he finally caught?
So Robin Samso's murder was the turning point in the investigation. Her friend Bridget was with her on the beach that day.
Okay.
And she provided a description of the man who had approached them.
Okay.
Asking to take their picture. And when Alcala's parole officer saw a sketch.
Oh, wow.
Based on Bridget's description, he recognized him immediately.
So it was that sketch that really cracked the case?
It was, and it led to a search of Alcala's belongings.
Okay.
And what they found was horrifying. Hundreds of photographs of women and children.
Oh my God.
Many of them in suggestive and unsettling poses.
So those photographs kind of became like a haunting symbol of the case.
They did.
It's scary to think that some of those women might still be unidentified.
Absolutely.
So the road to justice, though, was far from over.
No, it wasn't.
Alcala's case went to trial 3 times.
3 times?
For Robin Samso's murder.
Yeah.
3 trials. What led to that?
So he chose to represent himself.
Really?
In all 3 trials.
Wow.
Which is incredibly rare.
Yeah, especially for a death penalty case.
Yeah, and he was clearly intelligent. He knew how to manipulate the legal system. Yeah. To delay justice and to torment the families of his victims.
Wow. So his first 2 convictions were overturned. More on technicalities.
Yeah, it just goes to show how cunning he was.
Yeah.
And how he was able to exploit loopholes.
So finally, in 2010, he was found guilty for the 3rd time.
He was.
And sentenced to death.
Yes.
I can't even imagine what Robin Samso's family must have gone through.
It must have been agonizing for them.
All those years of waiting.
Decades.
Yeah. But what about those photographs? Were any of the women in those photos ever connected to other unsolved murders?
Yeah. So in 2011,
okay,
DNA evidence linked Alcala to the murders of Cornelia Crilly and Ellen Jane Hover.
Oh, wow.
In New York.
Wow.
So he was extradited.
So even after all these years, they were still finding new connections.
It's mind-boggling how long he managed to evade accountability.
Yeah.
And it just shows the power of DNA technology.
It really does.
And the dedication of law enforcement.
Yeah. What about the other women in those photos?
Well, authorities have released those photos to the public.
Okay.
Hoping that someone might recognize a friend or a loved one.
Right.
And in some cases, they've actually been able to connect faces with names.
Wow.
And bring some closure to families who had lost loved ones.
It's a small glimmer of hope.
It is.
In this really dark and complicated case.
Yeah.
But I imagine there's still many faces in those photographs that remain a mystery.
Sadly, that's true.
And in 2016, one of those photos led to another devastating discovery.
It did.
A woman named Kathy Thornton.
Yeah.
She saw a photo online.
Right.
And instantly recognized her sister Christine Ruth Thornton.
Yes.
Christine had been 6 months pregnant.
She was.
When she disappeared in 1977.
It's heartbreaking.
It's just heartbreaking to think that...
For family to learn after all these years.
After all these years.
What happened to her?
What happened to her? What happened with that case? Was Alcala ever charged?
He was charged with her murder in Wyoming, but he died in 2021 while on death row in California before he could be tried for that crime.
Oh my gosh. So he never really faced justice?
Not for all of his crimes, no.
Not all of his crimes, no. It's mind-boggling.
It's a frustrating reality.
Yeah.
But it highlights the importance of continuing to investigate these cases.
Right.
And to seek justice for victims, even when it seems like all hope is lost.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. It's a testament to all those people who are fighting for justice for these victims.
Yeah.
For the families who never give up.
Right.
For the investigators who dedicate their lives to solving these cases.
It really is amazing.
But Alcala's gone now, and he's taken so many secrets with him to the grave.
He has.
How many more victims are out there?
That's the question.
What drove him to commit these horrible acts?
We may never know.
We may never know. But I think one thing that's really important is that we remember the victims.
Yes.
We honor their memory.
Absolutely.
And we work to prevent.
To prevent this from happening again.
This from happening again.
Yeah.
And we've talked about all this darkness in this case. But there are glimmers of hope.
There are.
And that's the survivors.
Yes.
So can you tell me a little bit about them?
Yes. There are at least 2 known survivors of Alcala's attacks. Tali Shapiro, who he assaulted in 1968.
Right.
And a woman named Morgan Rowan.
Okay.
Who came forward after Alcala's death.
Okay.
And she was just 16.
Wow.
When he attacked her also in 1968.
Wow. It's incredible that they were able to survive those encounters. It must have taken so much strength and courage.
It's remarkable.
To endure that kind of trauma.
Yeah.
So what have they done with their lives since then?
Well, Tali has spoken publicly about her experience. Wow. She's even testified at Alcala's trial.
That's amazing.
Which is incredibly brave.
Yeah, I can't even imagine having to face your attacker.
Yeah.
In such a public setting.
No.
What about Morgan?
Morgan has also been very brave. She's written a book about her experience. And she's shared her story in other ways.
It's so powerful.
It is.
That they've both chosen to reclaim their lives.
Yeah.
And to use their voices to advocate for other survivors.
Absolutely.
It's amazing that even in the face of such horror,
right,
the human spirit can triumph.
It's inspiring.
It really is. But, it makes you think about the impact of trauma and how long it lasts.
Right. It's something they'll carry with them forever.
Yeah. So what kind of support is out there for survivors?
Well, thankfully, there are a lot of resources.
Okay.
There are support groups specifically for survivors of sexual assault and trauma.
Okay.
There are therapy options that specialize in PTSD and complex trauma.
Okay.
And there are even online communities where survivors can connect with others who understand what they've been through.
So it's really important for survivors to know that they're not alone.
Right.
That there is help available.
Absolutely.
But, this case, it really highlights the need for prevention.
It does.
What can we do as individuals, as a society, to prevent these kinds of tragedies from happening?
Well, I think education is key.
Yeah.
We need to start talking about these issues more openly.
Yeah.
Educating young people about consent, healthy relationships, and recognizing the warning signs of predatory behavior.
It's so important that we have these conversations.
Yeah.
Even if they're uncomfortable.
Even if they're hard.
Yeah.
But we need to equip young people with the knowledge and the skills to protect themselves.
Exactly.
And to recognize when something's not right.
Yeah. And we need to foster a culture where victims feel safe to come forward.
Absolutely.
Where they're believed.
Right.
Where they're supported, not judged or silenced.
Exactly. And that requires changing societal attitudes and creating systems that truly protect the vulnerable.
That's a big task.
It is.
But it's one that we can't shy away from.
We can't.
We have to work together.
We do.
To create a world where these kinds of things are less likely to happen.
It's a multifaceted problem.
Yeah.
And it requires a multifaceted approach.
And you mentioned earlier that law enforcement has released those photos to the public.
They have.
So it's possible that somebody listening right now might recognize one of those women.
It's possible.
And they could hold a piece of this puzzle.
They could even, the smallest detail, a vague memory, a feeling of familiarity could be crucial in identifying one of these women and bringing some peace to their family.
Yeah, so if anybody listening feels like they recognize someone in those photos, please contact the authorities.
The information's available online.
Yeah.
And even the smallest clue could make a world of difference.
So this has been a really disturbing but important deep dive.
It has.
The story of Rodney Alcala, it's a reminder that monsters can hide in plain sight.
They can.
And that we always need to be vigilant and aware.
Absolutely.
To protect ourselves and our loved ones.
And it's also a reminder that evil exists in the world.
It does.
But so does good.
And it's through our collective efforts. Yes.
Our compassion, our willingness to speak up.
Our unwavering pursuit of justice.
That we can combat darkness and create a safer world for all.
That's right.
And as always, we want to leave you with something to think about.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about darkness today.
Yeah.
But we also saw glimmers of hope in the stories of the survivors.
Yeah.
What can we learn from their courage, their resilience, their determination to turn their pain into purpose?
It's inspiring.
We'll leave you to reflect on that.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
It was my pleasure.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe. It's hard to hear about these cases, and not get lost in the horror of it all.
Right.
But you're right. We need to focus on the survivors and how strong they are.
Absolutely. And what's amazing about Tali and Morgan is they've both chosen to use their experiences to help others.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's really powerful.
What they've been able to do.
So Tali...
She's been really open about her experience. She's spoken at conferences, given interviews. She even testified at one of Alcala's trials.
Wow, that takes so much courage.
It does, to face your attacker.
Yeah.
In such a public setting.
I can't even imagine.
It's incredible. And then Morgan wrote a book about her experience.
Wow.
Which is also a way of helping other survivors find their voice.
Right, and kind of taking back control.
Exactly, taking back their narrative.
It's really inspiring.
It is, to see how they've turned their pain into purpose.
It makes you think about the impact of trauma.
It does.
And, even though they survived, they're going to carry those scars with them.
Forever.
Forever. So what kind of support is available?
Well, thankfully, there are a lot of resources.
Okay.
There are support groups for survivors of sexual assault and trauma.
Okay.
Therapy options that specialize in PTSD.
Right.
And complex trauma, and then even online communities.
Yeah.
Where survivors can connect with other survivors.
It's so important that they know they're not alone.
Absolutely.
That there's help.
Yes.
This case, though, it really highlights the need for prevention.
It does.
It's like, how can we stop this from happening again?
Right. Well, I think education is a huge part of it.
Okay.
We need to talk about these issues openly.
Yeah.
Educate young people about consent. about healthy relationships, about recognizing the signs of predatory behavior.
We can't be afraid to have these conversations.
We can't.
Even if they're difficult.
Right, they're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But we need to do it.
Yeah, and we need to make sure that victims feel safe coming forward.
Safe, supported. Believed, not judged.
Not silenced.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that requires changing attitudes.
Right.
And creating systems that actually protect the vulnerable.
That's a tall order.
It is. But we have to try.
We have to.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned that law enforcement released those photos.
They did.
To the public.
Yeah.
So it's possible.
It's possible.
That someone listening right now. Might recognize one of those women.
Yeah. They might have the missing piece.
They might have a piece of the puzzle.
So if anyone listening thinks they might recognize someone, please contact the authorities.
The information's online.
Yeah.
And even a small clue could help.
Could make a big difference.
A big difference.
Well, this has been
the heavy one.
A really heavy one, but an important deep dive.
It is.
The story of Rodney Alcala.
Right.
It's a case that really makes you think.
It does.
About the dark side of human nature.
Yeah, the capacity for evil.
But it also shows you.
It does.
The resilience of the human spirit.
It does.
The importance of never giving up on justice.
Absolutely.
And working together to make the world a safer place.
Yeah. I think that's the key takeaway here.
Yeah.
We have to work together.
We all have a part to play.
We do.
So thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
My pleasure. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe.